looking outside the window?
I thought maybe Grandma will come today, but she didn't.
Why are you so sad?
I miss my Grandma. Where are you, Grandma? I haven't seen you for 10 days.
What do you dream about at night?
I see Grandma smiling at me, and then I wake up just crying.
What makes you cry in silence?
When I remember Grandma's voice calling my name. I love you, Grandma.
Who do you wait for the most every day?
Only Grandma. I just want to see her smile.
Why do you look at the door again and again?
Because I feel like Grandma will come any moment, but she doesn't.
I miss you.
Oh. So I don't know how old of a child she's trying to represent. And that's created either through like some sort of AI, or she recorded herself and made a voice and did a thing. These apps have all sorts of stuff in there. So that's not a real interview between an adult and a child, thankfully. And if it were, you know, what I find, there's so many things I find so interesting, for lack of a better word. Like, for example, why do you keep looking out the window? I'm looking for Grandma. I miss my Grandma. Oh, well, why isn't your Grandma around? Do you know why? Funny how that question didn't get asked in there, right? Maybe the child would say, well, because Grandma doesn't know how to treat my mommy and my daddy, and Grandma's not a safe person. Or Grandma hurt my mommy when my mommy was growing up, and she's still trying to do bad things. Or, well, I see that every time my Grandma comes over, I love her and I miss her, but she's really mean to my parents. Or how about, well, in the case of my daughter who's now 42, well, my Grandma really loves me but hates my little brother. You know, why isn't the next question being asked? Because they don't want to disclose the answer. And the other part of this, tell me a time outside of a birthday, or when Christmas is coming, or some other holiday that's, you know, got something exciting attached to it, that a child will be able to tell you 10 days. Typically, children count down to things, and it's because, well, we give them the tools to do that. My birthday is, you know, whenever it is, it's 18 days away, you know, that kind of thing. They don't count the time that someone is apart necessarily, unless there's something going on where that's, you know, been encouraged, which it shouldn't. You know, it should be encouraged when somebody is coming back, not when somebody is absent. Only Grandma, only waiting for Grandma, only wants Grandma. Grandma is the center of the universe. Wow, the ego attached to that. Parents are the center of their children's universe. I hate to, you know, inform these grandparents of that. You know, you're not as important as you try to make yourself be. And I can guarantee you, based on what I've seen in this creator, you try to compete with this child's parents for control, for attention, for your grandchild's love. And the result of that was they threw up some boundaries, and you decided that you didn't want to respect those boundaries. And so rather than doing something, I don't know, constructive, like going to therapy to do better so that you can have a healthy relationship with your grandchild, you rather put it on blast online. Unfreaking believable. Like this one, I was just like, I was watching it and I was dumbfounded. Just dumbfounded. Who do you cry silently for? What the fuck? Like, who do you cry the most for? Who do you want the most? I know I keep going back over it. It just brings me to this place with my own mother, who I've been estranged from for over 30 years. When my kids were really little, 6 and 2.5-ish was when I went no contact. And the reason I went no contact was because of the boundaries not being respected. Boundaries that were for my children's well-being. My mother consistently worked overtime to try to build a special relationship with my daughter. She tried to get her to keep secrets from me, like, we can only do these fun things. Mommy's not fun. She won't like that. She would confide in my daughter about things like, yeah, you know, your mommy's not quite right, that sort of thing. She would give my daughter gifts that she could really enjoy and play with, and then give my son something that he couldn't use, wasn't age appropriate or not meaningful. Because he was invisible to her. And I'll take it a step further, invisible because she didn't like him. I didn't realize at the time, and the other boundary was not to expose my daughter to adult movies at the age of 5 and 6, like Poltergeist and Dirty Dancing, and she did it anyway. And that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so many things in there that, I mean, I would need like just one whole show for that. My daughter now, who's 42 years old, we've talked about this stuff over the years. And by the way, when I went no contact, my daughter did ask about my mother. She didn't sit by the window looking for her. She didn't count the days that she was gone. And no, my daughter isn't representative of every child. This is not everybody knows. However, humans, we have patterns of behavior. We have milestones and things that we do at particular ages. Neither one of my children were sitting by the window. My daughter wasn't crying herself to sleep at night. She wasn't silently weeping. She wasn't around the house, where's grandma? She wasn't doing any of that. Was she sad? Yes. Did she miss my mother? Yes, absolutely. Did we talk about that? Yes. And we had very open communication in my household. We were not the house of secrets, which is why when my mother tried to do these secretive things with my daughter, it backfired because that's not how she was being raised. My daughter would ask, you know, where's grandma? Am I going to see grandma again? That sort of thing. And I didn't know that the no contact was going to be forever. I really didn't have a plan in mind other than the fact that that's where we were at the time. And eventually I would also end up going no contact with my grandparents, which was quite a loss for my daughter. She adored them. My grandfather emmed me. My grandmother, I didn't realize until my adult life when I could look back at memories with an adult perspective, actually was a part of that in a way that I never really connected. She was present the whole time. I went no contact with my grandparents because I felt that there was something changing and my grandfather was grooming my daughter and I was having a lot of memories over what he did to me. So my daughter in particular, because she was their favorite, the one that they really focused on, no big shock there, she felt that loss as well. And I don't want to make it seem like the relationships that our children have with our parents is not important or wasn't important or significant to them, because that wouldn't be the truth. That would be misrepresentation, just like what this woman is doing, and that's not what I'm all about. However, that to be said, my children knew that there were problems with my mother and problems with my grandparents, and that they wouldn't respect boundaries and come to the table and be safe people. As time went on and questions came up here and there, and usually those questions came about when there was a school function and they would see other grandparents there, or somebody would ask a question, or those stupid projects about ancestry, which I hope they've abolished, because, you know, children don't all have intact families, right? I mean, imagine being a kid in foster care and you're supposed to do your tree and you can't consult with your own parent to do that, those ancestry projects. And when it would come up, we would just give them very honest answers that were age appropriate at the time. My children did not know the level of abuse that I had gone through until they were adults, because I didn't want my children to feel bad for me. I wanted them to have their emotions taken care of. I didn't want them focusing on what I was going through. I wanted to focus on how they were feeling and not having those relationships. And for my daughter, the loss of those relationships. Fast forward, my daughter's 42 years old. There was a period of time in her 1920s where she had relationships with my grandmother. My grandfather, I think, was already dead, and my mother. My grandmother passed away. My daughter was still somewhat in a relationship with her, albeit distant. And when my daughter was brought into her home to help, go through things to see if there were things that she wanted, the shelves were filled with empty bottles of alcohol, because my grandmother was an alcoholic, and my daughter actually found it to be pretty devastating. My mother pulled some shenanigans on her, and eventually she ended up going no contact with my mother. And how my daughter learned about, all of my children actually learned about the details of the things that I went through with my parents, with my mother rather. I didn't have parents. I didn't have a father that was there my whole life. My mother married people. I met them after she married them, and they died. Many of them died. 4 out of 6, in fact. 1 of cancer. So my daughter, in her adult life, we used to work together, do some writing projects. We still do stuff together. We used to do ghost writing and things like that. She has a double master's in psychology and communications. And so she was my editor, which is awesome. And she also wrote the foreword of the book, and so did one of my other children, my son wrote. My youngest daughter didn't feel confident to do that. Anyway, after reading the book, and after some shenanigans from my mother, my daughter confronted her, and it had nothing to do with me. When they were in a relationship together, I wasn't involved in that. I knew about it. I saw my mother from time to time, ended up going no contact with her again. And my daughter held the boundary that I requested, which was not to discuss me with my mother or my mother with me, kind of thing. So that's how that rolled out. And it was fine. I told her, if you ever need to talk about something that's occurring, come to me. I'm here to support you. It's not going to bother me because you're talking about my mother. I just don't want her to be, the conduit of information. I don't want her to be turned into a monkey or a tool or anything like that. And my mother most certainly did smear campaign me to my daughter and try to do different things. And it didn't work, because my daughter was raised by me and she knows who I am. My daughter tells me now, I forgot. So how my daughter ended up going no contact with my mother in adult life by her choice, nothing to do with me, no input from me. She went to my mother and she told her it was not fair that my mother was in a relationship with everyone in the family, that they had everybody, they had each other, and that I was alone. And that she wanted my mother to make things right because it wasn't okay. And she wanted her to make amends with me. She wanted her to apologize. And more importantly, she wanted her to stand up in the family and let them know that it wasn't me, that I was just a child. And my mother shut the computer on her. And that was it. My daughter hasn't spoken to her since, and never will again, as far as I know. And if she chooses differently, that's okay too. Whatever she wants to do. I didn't need her to take up for me. I'm grateful that she did. I love that she loves me that way. However, she doesn't have to also hate my enemy, and I don't hate my enemy. My mother is my enemy, and I have no feeling towards her. My daughter has shared with me how she felt and remembered feeling at the time that my mother was triangulating, at the time when my mother was trying to make her the center of my daughter's universe. And what she shared with me mostly was that she felt really guilty that she was the only one being treated with such special treatment. I can't think of a better word. and that it made her feel bad for her little brother. It made her feel bad for her step-grandfather at the time, and then she had another one, same story, and it made her feel bad for me as well. And that is where she learned how to feel guilt. So for all my parents out there who are worried about how your children are going to fare, they're going to fare as well as you create that for them. And that means that you can't ignore the elephants in the room. You need to be able to have conversation and be open and honest as is age appropriate, because some people, their instinct is they don't want to talk about it. Your children have a right to know about their family history in a way, again, that is age appropriate. My biggest piece of advice that I can give you is that when the topic comes up, ask them how they're feeling about it. Ask them what brings it to mind. Let them know. For me, so for you, it might be different. For me and for my ex-husband, we would tell our children, she's not an emotionally safe person, and she's done some things that are really not okay, and she refuses to do better. And we can't do anything with someone who doesn't want to come to the table and do better and be safer. And they did grow up knowing that she hurt me as a child, whatever that looked like. I mean, we would talk about it more from feeling perspective. They didn't know she dropped me out of a 2-story window and tried to unalive me. They didn't know about the emming from my grandparents until much, much later. And that cat kind of came out of the bag from my ex-husband, who was my ex-husband at the time. And it was okay, because there was some dialogue that it was appropriate for my children to know, not so appropriate for him to be the one to deliver that. Life happens, and we're great. Everything's great. Like, I wish that I had been a part of it at the time, because I think it would have helped my children to see me okay during that conversation. And they brought it back to me to kind of delve into it. And I know we got a little bit off the beaten path here. I guess what I'm trying to leave people with is that these manipulations online, these things being said to try to garner, sympathy for children who don't need the sympathy. They're being cared for and protected by their parents, because their parents are making decisions to make sure that they have healthy adults in their lives. And the people who, deserve sympathy are the adult children who had to grow up with parents who think nothing of posting things like this to, in this sort of, without saying it out loud, way to demonize their own adult children. It's so crazy how they just bypass their existence. And now it's about how can you, watch your children suffer like that, crying silently. And on another front, her credibility is like I'm going to show you some images. Well, here we go. Okay. So these are a lot of her posts, and I've been playing them all the way through, as you can see. And she does these lives, and she's actually, I don't know if she messaged me directly. She follows me, which I just figured out today. I don't look, and I was looking at her page and it says follow back, which I'm not going to. So I don't know what she's doing with my content, what she's learning, what she's not learning. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me at all. But she tried to get me to join into one of her lives. And I put my energy where I feel like it's going to be valued. And I definitely would not pop into a live, oh, it's not her, with this person. And I have to wonder if when people see this and then they see the live, if they're not confused by what I consider to be deception. A lot of these estranged parents, they use these filters, and it's crazy. This is like a whole thing. Like, I think her name is, I don't want to say her name actually, is whatever. Will her name please stand up? I went off on a little bit of a a round road there. However, I felt like it needed to lead back in a personal experience. I really, really want you to know that your children not being exposed to an unhealthy love, and really you working to make sure that what they are exposed to is a healthy love, puts them ahead of the game as adults. It puts them ahead of the game as children to learn that it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not willing to resolve conflict and be kind, then you don't deserve access. And that's really what so much of this comes down to. The willingness and even the ability to resolve conflict. And agree to disagree is not resolution. Sometimes it can be. However, most of the time with these types of people, they weaponize that. Coming to a resolution is about mutual respect and also knowing your place. I am a grandmother. I don't look like that grandmother. I just had to do that because it's like all of these things that she posted makes it look like the grandmother is this frail, old, can't do anything. You know, she wants a fragile image, right? She wants that warm and fuzzy little grandma image kind of thing instead of, well, that. And I'm not saying our looks have any bearing on who we are or how we show up. I am saying the portrayal of that is done very intentionally, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, she's something else. I lost my train of thought when I started talking about how the grandmas look and don't look, so that's where we're at. Sorry about that. I'll see you soon. If you have anybody that you want me to cover, let me know. Don't tag me in their videos. They'll block me. She follows me on the TT. I don't know if she follows me on this platform. If she blocks me, she blocks me. I don't really care. I stand by the things I say. I stand by the videos that I make, and that's it. That's all. See you soon.